The research facility on Mars was built underground, hidden beneath red rock and dust. Most people didn't know it existed. Those who did know never talked about it. Dr. Yuna walked through the security checkpoints, passing through 3 different scanners before reaching the main laboratory. She was the lead geneticist for Project Helix, the classified program studying human DNA. Today was important. Today she would brief the truth to Captain Tay and Dr. Hana. They waited in the conference room. Tay looked older than the last time Yuna had seen him. 2 years of being humanity's ambassador had added lines to his face. Hana looked tired but alert. She had returned from her work with the Concordat 6 months ago. "Thank you for coming," Yuna said, sitting down. "What I'm about to tell you cannot leave this room. It's classified at the highest level." "We understand," Tay said. Yuna pulled up a holographic display of human DNA. The Concordat was right. 99% of human genetic code is unmapped by their scanners. But they made a mistake. They assumed it was junk DNA, random code, evolutionary debris. "But it's not," Hana said. "No, it's dormant." Yuna manipulated the display, highlighting specific sections. "Think of it like emergency code in a computer program. It sits there doing nothing until specific conditions are met. Then it activates." "What kind of conditions?" Tay asked. "Stress. Extreme stress. Life-threatening situations. When humans face death or danger, parts of that 99% wake up." Hana leaned forward. "What does it do?" Yuna changed the display to show brain scans. "It does many things. Increased adrenaline production, yes, but also neural enhancement, accelerated healing, altered time perception, enhanced pattern recognition, improved physical coordination." She paused. "Humans don't just adapt over generations through evolution. We adapt in real time through sheer necessity." "That's impossible," Tay said. "Is it?" "We have data from the Krill conflict. Commander Kwan's soldiers reported seeing things in slow motion during combat. They made decisions faster than they could think. Private Ara performed surgery she had never been trained for and succeeded. Sergeant Day calculated explosive yields in his head that normally require computers. Yuna showed them the medical scans. We tested all of them afterward. Every single soldier showed temporary genetic expressions that weren't there before the battle. New proteins, new neural pathways, things that shouldn't exist based on their baseline DNA. "But how?" Hana asked. "Genetics doesn't work that way. Normal genetics doesn't, but human genetics? We're still learning." Yuna pulled up another image. "The reason the Concordat scanners can't read it is because it's not fully physical. Parts of human DNA are quantum entangled with our consciousness. It responds to thought, to belief, to necessity. We are not just a species, we are potential." The room was silent for a long moment. "If this is true," Tay said slowly, "then the Council was right to be afraid of us." "Yes. We can't let them know about this. If they discover that humans can evolve on demand even temporarily, they won't vote for restrictions. They'll vote for extinction." "I agree," Yuna said. "That's why this is classified. That's why only 12 people know the full truth." Hana stood and walked to the window overlooking the Martian landscape. "But someone will find out eventually. These things always get discovered." She was right. 3 months later, the Krill Dominion proved her right. They had been listening, monitoring human communications. They had captured partial data transmissions from the Mars facility. Not everything, but enough to understand that human DNA was more than it seemed. The Krill wanted to weaponize it. Create super soldiers using human genetic code. They launched a raid on a human research outpost near the border and captured 5 scientists. One of them was Mina, a young geneticist who had been working on tissue regeneration. Ambassador Tay received the news in his office on the diplomatic station. Commander Kwan was already there, planning a rescue mission. "We can hit them fast," Kwan said. "Small team. In and out before they know what happened." "No," Tay said. "If we attack, it proves we have something worth protecting. It confirms their suspicion, so we leave them?" Kwan's voice was angry. "Let the Krill experiment on our people." Dr. Hana entered the room carrying a data pad. "We received a message from Mina, encrypted. It took me an hour to decode it." "What does it say?" Tay asked. Hana read from the pad. "Don't come. Let me show them why they should have left us alone." Kwan stared at her. "What does that mean?" "I think," Hana said quietly, "it means Mina is going to activate her genetic potential. Deliberately. That's suicide, Tay said. Maybe. Or maybe she knows something we don't. On the krill ship, Mina was strapped to a medical table. Alien doctors stood around her, running scanners and taking samples. They had been working for 3 days trying to trigger the dormant human genetics through stress and pain. They had no idea what they were doing. Mina had stopped screaming after the first day. Not because the pain stopped, but because she learned to channel it. Every cut, every injection, every shock sent signals through her nervous system. Her body responded. Deep in her cells, code that had been sleeping for her entire life began to wake up. She felt it happening, felt her body changing from the inside out. Her immune system kicked into overdrive, but not to heal, to defend, to attack. The krill doctors noticed changes in their instruments. Mina's body temperature was rising. Her blood chemistry was shifting. They increased the restraints, worried she might be dying. They should have been worried about themselves. On the 4th day, one of the krill doctors took another blood sample. He didn't notice that his skin was starting to itch where Mina's blood had touched his glove. By evening, he was dead. The other doctors examined his body and found nothing. No poison, no disease. They continued their experiments. On the 5th day, 2 more doctors died. Then 3. Then all of them, Mina's body had weaponized itself. Her sweat was toxic. Her breath was poison. Her blood was acid. Not permanently, just long enough. Just for this situation. Her genetics had analyzed the krill biology and adapted to kill it. She broke free of the restraints, not through strength, but because the metal had corroded where her skin touched it. She walked through the ship's corridors. Krill soldiers tried to stop her. They died when they got close. She didn't fight. She didn't have to. She had become the weapon. By the time human ships arrived 2 days later, the krill vessel was silent. No distress calls. No communications. Just floating in space like a ghost ship, Commander Kwan led the boarding party. They found Mina sitting in the ship's command center, surrounded by dead krill. She looked exhausted but unharmed. Her body had already returned to normal. The temporary genetic changes were fading. Are you all right? Kwan asked. Mina looked at her hands. I killed them all. Didn't fire a shot. Didn't throw a punch. My body just did it. We need to go, Kwan said gently. They returned to human space with Mina and the dead krill ship as evidence. The Galactic Council demanded an explanation. This time, Tay couldn't avoid the truth. He stood before the council again, but this time he didn't hide anything. You wanted to know what the 99% is, Tay said. Now you know. It's evolution's loaded gun. It points at threats. It points at us. It's always ready. Always dangerous. The council erupted in panic. Calls for quarantine. Demands for human disarmament. Fear spreading like fire. Tay raised his voice. You can be afraid. You should be afraid. But understand this. What happened to those krill soldiers will happen to anyone who tries to weaponize humanity. Anyone who tries to experiment on us. Anyone who tries to enslave us. Our genetics protect us from threats. All threats. A familiar voice spoke. The young furry delegate from the agricultural world. What about us? Are we threats? Tay looked at the delegate. That depends. Do you treat us as enemies or as allies? I do not know anymore. Then let me make it simple, Tay said. That 99% you can't understand. It works both ways. We can be your greatest threat or your fiercest defenders. We can adapt to kill you or adapt to save you. We can be the monsters you fear or the friends you need. He paused, letting his words sink in. You have a choice. Keep us as enemies, isolated and afraid, and we will become exactly what you fear. Accept us as allies, work with us, trust us, and we will protect you with the same ferocity that we protect ourselves. Dr. G stepped forward. The council must understand something about humans. We are not just survivors. We are protectors. Throughout our history, whenever we face threats, we don't just defend ourselves. We defend those weaker than us. We adopt orphans from other families. We rescue animals from other species. We create laws to protect those who cannot protect themselves. That same instinct applies here, G continued. If you accept us, if you work with us, humans will defend the Galactic Union with everything we have. Because that's what we do. We protect our own, and if you become our allies, you become our own. The council debated for 3 days. This time the vote was different. Humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Union, Administrator Velen announced, with no restrictions beyond standard membership requirements. However, Human genetic research is now classified as restricted knowledge. No species may attempt to replicate or weaponize human DNA without council approval and human consent. It wasn't perfect, but it was acceptance. The Grand Assembly was the largest structure Ambassador Tay had ever seen. It hung in space like a small moon, a massive sphere covered in lights. Inside, 700 species gathered to make decisions that affected the entire galaxy. Today, they were gathering to decide humanity's fate. Tay stood in the preparation room, adjusting his formal uniform. He looked at himself in the mirror. Just a human. Average height, average build, nothing special. Yet he was about to speak for his entire species. "You look nervous," said a voice behind him. Dr. G entered the room. She was a psychologist, one of Earth's best. She had volunteered to come to help Tay make humanity's case. She was small, barely 5 feet tall, with gray hair and kind eyes. "I am nervous," Tay admitted. 700 species. Most of them think we're dangerous monsters. "That's because we are dangerous," G said calmly. "The question is whether we're useful dangerous or just dangerous." Tay laughed despite himself. "You're not helping. I'm not trying to help. I'm trying to be honest." G sat down in one of the chairs. "Ambassador, do you know why I agreed to come here?" "Because you're one of the few people who understands alien psychology." "No, because I understand human psychology." G leaned forward. "Every species in that assembly hall evolved on their own world in their own way. They developed their own cultures, their own values. But they all have one thing in common. They survived. They reached the stars. They proved they were strong enough to exist. And so did we. We just did it differently. That's what scares them." A chime sounded. It was time. The assembly hall was even more overwhelming than Tay had imagined. 700 different species sat in 700 different sections, arranged in a massive circle around a central platform. The ceiling was transparent, showing the stars beyond. Tay walked to the platform. His footsteps echoed in the huge space. As he climbed the stairs, he could feel thousands of eyes watching him. Eyes and sensors and things he couldn't even identify. Administrator Veln's voice spoke from somewhere above. "The Council recognizes Ambassador Tay of Earth. You may present humanity's case for full membership in the Galactic Union." Tay took a breath. "Thank you, Administrator. Members of the Council, I know why I'm here. You've seen the reports from the Concordat. You know about our genetic scanning results. You know about Dr. Hana's immunity to diseases that kill other species. And you've heard about the Krill attack on New Pyongyang." Murmurs spread through the assembly, many different voices in many different languages. "You're afraid of us," Tay continued. "I understand that. You should be afraid. But before you make your decision, I want you to know the truth about humanity. All of it. Not just what your scanners show. Not just what your reports say. The real truth." He pulled up a holographic display. Images appeared above the platform, floating in the air for everyone to see. "This is Earth, our home world." The image showed a blue planet covered in clouds. Beautiful, peaceful. "And this is also Earth." The image changed. Cities in ruins, mushroom clouds rising over destroyed landscapes, bodies piled in mass graves, oceans thick with pollution. The assembly went silent. "Humans are not a peaceful species," Tay said. "We've fought over 5,000 major wars in recorded history. We've developed weapons capable of destroying our entire planet. Nuclear bombs, chemical weapons, biological agents. We've used all of them on each other. We once released a virus that killed 50 million of our own people just to gain an advantage in a conflict." He changed the image again. "This is the Holocaust. 6 million humans murdered. This is the Mongol invasions. 40 million dead. This is World War II. 70 million casualties. This is the climate wars, 100 million refugees." The images kept coming, each one worse than the last. Tay didn't hide anything. He showed them humanity's darkest moments, its greatest shames, its most terrible mistakes. "Why are you telling us this?" a voice called out. It came from a delegate who looked like a floating jellyfish. "You make your case worse." "No," Tay said. "I make it honest. You're afraid we'll hurt you, but the truth is much worse. We're afraid we'll hurt ourselves. We've been doing it for thousands of years." He dismissed the images. "That 99% of our DNA that you can't map?" "It's not just biology. It's memory. It's trauma. It's every war we've survived, every plague we've beaten, every disaster we've overcome. Humans don't just adapt to our environment. We adapt to ourselves, to our own violence, Our own cruelty. Dr. G stepped onto the platform beside him. May I speak, Ambassador? Please. G looked around at the 700 species. I am Dr. G. I study how humans think and feel. And I can tell you something important. Humans are not violent because we love violence. We are violent because we are afraid. Afraid of each other. Afraid of the unknown. Afraid of not having enough resources, enough space, enough safety. She walked to the edge of the platform. But we are also capable of incredible compassion. We create art, we write poetry. We make music. We fall in love. We care for our sick and our old. We adopt children who are not our own. We risk our lives to save strangers. That is not unique, called out another delegate. Many species have compassion. You're right, G agreed. But how many species have compassion and violence in equal measure? How many species can commit genocide one generation, and then spend the next generation trying to make sure it never happens again? That's what makes humans different. We remember, we regret, we try to be better. A delegate stood. It was a tall being covered in golden scales. But how can we trust you? Your own history shows you cannot be trusted. You hurt yourselves. What will you do to us? This was the question Tay had been waiting for. He looked directly at the golden-scaled delegate. You're asking the wrong question, Tay said. The question isn't, will humans hurt you? The question is, should you give humanity a reason to hurt you? The assembly erupted. Shouts in 100 languages. Some delegates stood. Others made threatening gestures. Administrator Veln's voice boomed over the chaos. Silence. Ambassador Tay, explain yourself. Tay raised his hands. I'm not threatening you. I'm telling you how humans work. We are dangerous, yes, but we are controllable. Give us trade, give us partnership. Give us a place in the galaxy and we will be your greatest allies. We will fight for you. We will innovate for you. We will die for you if necessary. But reject us, quarantine us, treat us as enemies, and you will make us into exactly what you fear. He looked around the assembly. That 99% you can't understand? It works both ways. We can be your greatest threat or your fiercest defenders. The choice is yours. A young delegate stood. It was small and furry, representing a species from an agricultural world. I have a question. Should we be afraid of you? Tay appreciated the honesty. Yes, but you should also know something. We are more afraid of ourselves than you could ever be. We know what we're capable of. We've seen it. We've lived it. That's why we control it. Dr. G added, human children are taught from a young age about our history, about the terrible things we've done, not to celebrate them, but to remember them, to make sure we don't repeat them. Every human carries the weight of our species' mistakes. It is heavy, but it makes us careful. The assembly debated for 6 hours. Tay and Dr. G stood on the platform the entire time, answering questions, addressing concerns, defending humanity's right to exist in galactic society. Finally, Administrator Veln called for a vote. All in favor of full membership for humanity in the Galactic Union. Register your vote now. Lights appeared across the assembly. Some sections glowed green. Others remained dark. All opposed. More lights appeared. Red ones this time. Tay held his breath. The vote is complete, Velin announced. Humanity is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Union, subject to the following restrictions. No biological exports. No military alliances without council approval. Constant monitoring of human colonies. Quarterly reports on human activities. These restrictions will be reviewed in 10 standard years. It wasn't full membership. It wasn't everything Tay had hoped for, but it was something. Do you accept these terms, Ambassador Tay? Tay thought about refusing, about demanding better treatment, but he looked at Dr. G and she nodded slightly. This was the best they would get. For now, on behalf of humanity, I accept. As they left the assembly hall, G put a hand on Tay's shoulder. You did well. They're treating us like criminals. Monitoring us. Restricting us. They're treating us like what we are, G said. A dangerous species trying to prove we can be trusted. That's fair, is it? Yes, because we know something they don't. What's that? G smiled. In 10 years, they'll trust us. Because we'll show them what else that 99% contains. Not just violence and survival, but loyalty, innovation, determination, all the things that make humanity worth keeping around. Tay hoped she was right, but deep down he wondered if the galaxy would ever truly trust humans, or if humanity would always be the species everyone watched carefully, waiting for them to prove their fears right. The Krill Dominion didn't believe in diplomacy. They believed in conquest. Commander Quan watched the enemy ships approach on his scanner. 12 warships, each 3 times the size of anything humans had built. They moved in perfect formation across the darkness of space, heading straight for New Pyongyang colony. "Sir, should we transmit a warning?" asked Private Ara from the communication station. "They know we're here," Quan said. "They don't care," he was right. The Krill ships opened fire without any message, without any demand for surrender. Energy beams tore through the orbital defense stations in seconds. Explosions lit up the space around the colony like fireworks. Quan grabbed the ship-wide intercom. "All personnel, this is Commander Quan. The colony is under attack. This is not a drill. Get to your positions. Prepare for ground assault." New Pyongyang was a small colony, only 50,000 people. Most were farmers and miners. They had some weapons, but nothing like what the Krill brought. The colonists weren't soldiers, but they were human. The Krill landing ships came down like meteors, smashing into the ground outside the main settlement. Quan watched from the command center as the enemy troops poured out. They were huge, maybe 7 feet tall, covered in armored exoskeletons that gleamed in the sunlight. They moved fast, faster than anything that size should move. "Count?" Quan asked. 500 soldiers in the first wave," reported Sergeant Day from Tactical. "More ships landing to the east, 500. Quan did the math in his head. The colony had 200 people with military training. "Bad odds, very bad odds. What are your orders, sir?" Ara asked. Quan thought about the rules of engagement he had learned in training. Fair combat, honorable warfare, rules of war. Then he threw all of it away. "We don't fight them head on," he said. "We make them wish they never landed." The Krill expected the humans to meet them in battle. They expected lines of soldiers, defensive positions, maybe some armored vehicles. They were ready for conventional war. Instead, they got hell. The first Krill squad marched into town and found it empty. No civilians, no soldiers, just abandoned buildings. Their commander, a massive warrior with red markings on his armor, growled orders in his language. The squad spread out to search. That's when the explosion started. Sergeant Day had spent the previous year training colonists in demolitions. Not military-grade explosives, improvised ones. Fertilizer bombs, fuel containers, old mining charges. Anything that could blow up. The colonists had hidden them in buildings, under roads, inside vehicles. The Krill squad lost 4 soldiers in the first 10 minutes. The commander roared in anger and called for backup. More Krill troops moved into town. More explosions followed. The buildings themselves were weapons now. "They're getting cautious," Day reported from his position on a rooftop. "Scanning for traps." "Good," Quan said. "That slows them down." Phase 2 was snipers, not trained military snipers. Colonists who knew how to hunt. Farmers who could shoot a rabbit at 300 yards. They didn't aim for the Krill's armored bodies. They aimed for joints, for exposed areas where the armor plates met, for the eye slits in their helmets. One shot, then move. Never stay in one place. Never fight fair. The Krill couldn't pin down the shooters. Every time they fired back, the humans were already gone. It was like fighting ghosts. By nightfall, the Krill had lost 30 soldiers. They hadn't even seen the enemy's main force. Their commander was furious. "They fight like cowards," he roared at his officers. "No honor. No courage." But the Krill made a mistake. They assumed human technology was primitive. They assumed human night vision was weak. They set up camp and waited for morning to continue the attack. Humans owned the night. Quan led a squad of 20 soldiers into the Krill camp at 200 hours. They moved silently through the darkness. Private Ara carried medical supplies. Sergeant Day carried enough explosives to blow up a building. The others carried whatever weapons they could find. They didn't attack the Krill directly. Instead, they poisoned the water supply. Not with fancy chemical weapons. With industrial cleaners from the mining facility. Compounds that were harmless to human digestion, but deadly to Krill metabolism. They had learned about Krill biology from captured equipment. The enemy's own medical scanners had told them how to kill Krill soldiers. By morning, 40 more Krill were dead or dying. The Krill commander demanded to speak to the human leader. Quan accepted the communication request. "I am Commander Quan of New Pyongyang Colony." The Krill commander's face filled the screen. He looked like a cross between a lizard and a bear, with teeth like knives. "You fight without honor," You hide like insects. You poison like serpents. Face us in battle like warriors. Quan's expression didn't change. No? What? I said no. We won't fight the way you want us to fight. We'll fight the way we need to fight. Quan leaned closer to the camera. You scanned us, didn't you? Before you attacked. You saw that 99% of our genetics that you couldn't read. The Krill commander growled. That means nothing. It means everything, Quan said. That 99%? It's 10,000 years of war. It's evolution in the mud and blood. It's every trick we learned fighting each other before we ever met you. We don't fight honorably. We fight to survive, and we're very, very good at it. You cannot win. We have more ships, more soldiers, better weapons, maybe, Quan admitted. But how many soldiers are you willing to lose? Because we'll kill 10 of yours for every one of ours. We'll poison your supplies. We'll blow up your vehicles. We'll shoot you from buildings you thought were empty. We'll fight you in every street, every house, every room. And when you think you've won, when you think you've killed us all, the last human will blow himself up just to take a few more of you with him. The Krill commander was silent. You came here thinking we were easy prey. Quan continued. You were wrong. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave. You're going to take your ships and your soldiers and leave. And you're going to tell every other species in your dominion that humans are not worth the cost. And if we refuse? Quan smiled. It was a cold, terrible smile. Then we'll teach you what the word guerrilla warfare means. We'll make you understand why humanity survived 10,000 years of trying to kill itself. We'll show you what that 99% really is. The communication cut out. 2 hours later, the Krill ships left orbit. Quan stood on the roof of the command center and watched them go. Private Ara joined him. We won, she said quietly. We survived, Quan corrected. That's not the same thing. What happens now? Quan thought about the message the Krill would send to the Galactic Union. About how humanity had fought. About the tactics they had used. About the things they had done. Now, he said, the galaxy learns to be afraid of us. Sergeant Day climbed onto the roof, carrying a bottle of something the colonists made from local plants. Found this in one of the abandoned buildings. Figured we earned it. They passed the bottle around. It tasted terrible, but none of them cared. Commander, Ara said, do you think we did the right thing, fighting that way? Quan looked at her. She was young, maybe 22. She had killed at least 6 Krill soldiers. She had poisoned 40 more. She had done things that would give her nightmares for years. We're alive, Quan said. They're gone. Everyone in this colony survived. So yes, Private, we did exactly what we needed to do. But later, alone in his quarters, Quan stared at his hands and wondered. The Krill had called humans cowards. They had called them dishonorable. They were probably right, but they were also gone. And humans were still here. That was the only thing that mattered. 3 months had passed since the genetic scanning. Dr. Hanna now lived aboard the Luminal Crest, a massive research vessel that belonged to the Concordat. Her quarters were comfortable, even if the bed was too large and the doors were the wrong height. She had adapted. Humans were good at that. The research team was obsessed with human DNA. Every day, Hanna sat through meetings where alien scientists proposed theories about the unmapped 99%. Some thought it was junk DNA, useless remnants from human evolution. Others believed it was corrupted data from Earth's harsh environment. A few thought human scanning equipment was simply primitive and wrong. Hanna didn't argue with them. She just listened and took notes. Her closest colleague was a scientist named Reln. He came from a water world and looked like a seal mixed with an octopus. He had kind eyes and a curious mind. They often ate lunch together in the ship's garden, a huge room filled with plants from 100 different worlds. I do not understand, Reln said one afternoon, munching on something that looked like purple grass. Your species is so young, only 12,000 years of civilization. Most species need 50,000 years to reach space travel. How did you advance so quickly? Hanna smiled. We had good motivation. We're very good at competition. Competition with who? You are the only intelligent species on your world. With each other, Hanna said. Humans spent most of our history fighting each other. War drives innovation. Reln looked shocked. You fought your own kind? That is unusual, is it? Hanna asked. Don't other species have wars? Not like you describe. We have disagreements. Sometimes conflicts over resources. But total war? Trying to destroy each other? No, most species unite early in their development. Relin paused. Your species is strange, Dr. Hana, she laughed. You have no idea. That night, the ship's alarm woke Hana from sleep. Red lights flashed in her quarters. A voice spoke in a language she didn't know, then switched to human English. Medical emergency. All personnel report to duty stations. Hana rushed to the medical bay. She wasn't a doctor, but she had basic training. The bay was chaos. Aliens rushed everywhere, carrying equipment and medicine. In the center of the room, on a medical table, lay Reln. He was dying. Hana pushed through the crowd. What happened? A bird-like alien doctor turned to her. Pathogen outbreak. Unknown origin. It spread through the ventilation system 2 hours ago. Reln was the first infected. Now we have 47 cases. What kind of pathogen? We are analyzing it now. But it works fast. Fever, organ failure, neural shutdown. Reln has maybe an hour. Hana looked at her friend. His skin had turned gray. His breathing was shallow. She felt helpless. Over the next 6 hours, she watched 5 researchers die. The pathogen spread despite quarantine measures. The ship's medical staff couldn't identify it, couldn't stop it. Panic spread through the luminal crest. Hana worked alongside the alien doctors trying to help. She handled infected tissue samples. She was in the same rooms as dying patients. She breathed the same air, but she didn't get sick. The bird-like doctor noticed first. Dr. Hana, you have been exposed to the pathogen for 7 hours. You should show symptoms by now. I feel fine, Hana said. That is not possible. Every species we have tested shows infection within 3 hours. They ran tests on Hana. Her blood showed exposure to the pathogen. It was in her system, but her body was killing it. Not just fighting it off slowly, destroying it completely. Her immune system treated the deadly alien disease like it was nothing. How? The bird doctor asked. How is your body doing this? Hana thought about Earth, about humanity's history, about the things that nearly destroyed her species but didn't. Do you know what the Black Death was? She asked. The doctor's head tilted in confusion. No. It was a disease that killed 1/3 of Europe's population in the 14th century. 1/3. 50 million people dead. Hana pulled up her data tablet and started scrolling through Earth's medical history. Then there was smallpox, tuberculosis, cholera. The Spanish flu killed 50 million more in 1918, HIV, Ebola. Malaria has killed more humans than all wars combined. And then there were the COVID variants in the 21st century. The aliens in the medical bay had gone quiet. They were all listening. Every generation of humans faces diseases that try to wipe us out, Hana continued. We evolve, we adapt. Our immune systems are not just defenses. They're battlefields. They're graveyards filled with every pathogen that ever tried to kill us and failed. The bird doctor looked at the test results again. Your immune system has components we have never seen before. Mechanisms that seem almost aggressive. Because they are, Hana said. Human immune systems don't just defend. They attack. They remember. They learn, she paused. That 99% of our DNA that you can't map, a lot of it is our immune response. It's so complex and adaptive that your scanners probably can't even recognize it as organized code. You are saying humans are immune to diseases that kill other species? Not immune, but very, very hard to kill. Hana looked at Reln's body, covered with a sheet now. I'm sorry about your people. I wish I could have helped more. That night, Hana was called to Administrator Veln's office. The crystalline being stood by a large window that looked out into space. Dr. Hana, your immunity to the pathogen has been noted. It raises concerns, I understand. Do you? Veln turned to face her. You are a biological fortress. Your species carries within it the ability to survive what kills us. What else can you survive? What else are you immune to? Hana chose her next words carefully. Humans once weaponized smallpox. We used diseases as weapons against each other. Then we felt so guilty about it that we completely eradicated smallpox from Earth. It doesn't exist in nature anymore. But you keep samples, Veln said. It wasn't a question. In secure facilities, yes, just in case it's ever needed again. Needed for what? Hana met the administrator's gaze. Defense, Veln was quiet for a long moment. The lights inside its body moved slowly like a heartbeat. The research program is being suspended. You will be sent home with honors and our gratitude, but the council must discuss these findings. I understand, Hana said again. I do not think you do. You are one person, Dr. Hana. You seem kind, gentle, intelligent, but you carry within you the ability to survive what kills us. Your entire species does. That is terrifying. Hana had no answer to that, because Veln was right. A week later, Hana stood in the docking bay waiting for the human transport ship. A message from Captain Tay had arrived that morning. It said, "Welcome home. We need to talk." She looked out at the stars and wondered what would happen next. The Concordat had seen just a small piece of what humanity was. Just the immune system. Just the survival instinct. They hadn't seen the rest yet, but they would. Eventually they would, and Hana wasn't sure if the galaxy was ready for that. Captain Tay stood at the airlock door and took a deep breath. Behind him, Dr. Hana adjusted her uniform for the third time. She was nervous. Lieutenant Quan placed a hand on his weapon, though Tay had told him twice already that they wouldn't need guns today. "Ready?" Tay asked. Hana nodded. Quan grunted. That was good enough. The airlock opened with a hiss. Cold air rushed in, carrying a strange smell like burned metal and flowers. Tay stepped through first. His boots clanked on the alien metal floor. The corridor stretched ahead, massive and bright. Everything was too big. The ceiling was 30 feet high. The doorways were wide enough to drive a truck through. Whoever built this place wasn't human-sized. A figure appeared at the end of the corridor. It moved toward them with a strange gliding motion. As it came closer, Tay could see it better. The creature was tall, maybe 10 feet. Its body looked like it was made of blue crystal, with light moving inside it like water. It had no face that Tay could recognize, just a smooth surface where a head should be. "Welcome," the creature said. Its voice came from everywhere at once, echoing in the corridor. "I am Administrator Veln. You are the humans?" "That's right," Tay said. He tried to sound confident. "I'm Captain Tay. This is Dr. Hana and Lieutenant Quan. We're here for the genetic cataloging." "Yes, follow me." They walked through corridor after corridor. Hana whispered to Tay as they walked. "There are so many different species here, look." She was right. Through windows and open doors, Tay could see dozens of different aliens. Some had fur. Some had scales. Some looked like walking plants. Some were so strange that Tay couldn't even describe them. They all ignored the humans, busy with their own work. Finally, they reached a large round room. In the center stood a machine. It looked like a metal ring standing on its edge, big enough for a person to walk through. Lights blinked along its surface. Several aliens worked at control panels around it. "This is the genetic scanner," Administrator Veln said. "It is simple. You walk through. The machine reads your genetic code. We add the data to the Galactic Archive. Then you may begin trade and diplomacy with the Concordat." "How long does it take?" Hana asked. "Seconds. We have scanned millions of beings. It never fails." Tay looked at the machine. It didn't look dangerous. Just a metal ring with lights. "All right. I'll go first." He walked toward the ring. As he got close, the lights changed from blue to green. He stepped through. A warm feeling washed over his body like standing in sunlight. Then it was done. He was on the other side, see? He said to Hana and Quan. Nothing to worry about. But Administrator Veln had gone very still. The lights inside its crystal body had stopped moving. The other aliens at the control panels were making strange sounds. One of them, a creature with 6 arms and purple skin, was tapping frantically at its controls. "Is something wrong?" Tay asked. "The scanner." "There is an error," Veln said slowly. "What kind of error?" "Please wait." The aliens worked at their controls for several minutes. They spoke to each other in languages Tay couldn't understand. Finally, Veln turned back to the humans. "Captain Tay, please walk through the scanner again." Tay frowned but did as asked. Again the warm feeling. Again the green lights. When he stepped out, the aliens looked even more disturbed than before. "Again," Veln said. Tay went through 2 more times. Each time the aliens seemed more confused and upset. Finally, Veln held up one of its crystalline limbs. "Enough. We have the same result 4 times. There is no machine error." "Then what's the problem?" Tay asked. Veln was quiet for a moment. When it spoke again, its voice was different. Uncertain. "Captain Tay, in the entire history of the Concordat, we have scanned beings from 87,000 worlds. We have genetic data from millions of species. Our archive contains the biological information of every known form of life in this galaxy." "Okay," Tay said. "And?" "Your genetic code is 99% unmapped. Hana gasped. That's impossible. We thought so too, Veln said. The highest unmapped percentage we have ever recorded was 3%. That was from a species that evolved on a world with extreme radiation. Their DNA was heavily damaged and mutated. But 99%? The administrator's lights flickered. We cannot read your genetic code. It appears as null data, empty information, as if most of your DNA does not exist. Tai looked at Hana. She looked as confused as he felt. But our DNA does exist. We know it does. We've been studying human genetics for hundreds of years. Perhaps your methods are different from ours, Veln suggested. Or perhaps there is something about human biology that our scanners cannot detect. One of the other aliens spoke up. It looked like a floating ball of tentacles. This is unprecedented. We must run more tests, detailed examinations. This could take months. We don't have months, Quan said. It was the first time he had spoken since they arrived. Nevertheless, Veln said, we cannot approve contact with a species we cannot properly catalog. It is protocol. For safety. Tay felt a spike of anger. They had come all this way. Earth needed this alliance. Humanity needed access to galactic trade and technology. And now some bureaucratic rule was going to stop everything because of a scanner malfunction? Administrator Veln, Tay said carefully. Let me make sure I understand. You're saying that 99% of human DNA is unmapped, unreadable. You don't know what it does or what it is. Correct. And you're worried about that. Of course. Unknown biological factors could pose risks to other species. Tay smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Administrator, let me give you some advice. That 99% you can't read? You don't need to worry about that. It's the 1% you can read that you should worry about. The room went silent. Every alien stopped what they were doing and looked at Tay. Hana stared at him with wide eyes. Even Quan looked surprised. Then Administrator Veln made a sound. It took Tay a moment to realize the alien was laughing. You have humor. That is good. Very well, Captain. We will approve preliminary contact, but we will require follow-up examinations. Your Dr. Hana will be invited to participate in a research exchange. We will solve this mystery. Fine, Tay said. As they walked back through the corridors toward their ship, Hana grabbed Tai's arm. What was that about? Why did you say that? Tay looked at her. His expression was serious now. Because I wanted them to remember it. When they figure out what that 99% really is, I want them to remember that we warned them. Warned them about what? About us, Tay said quietly. About what humans really are. Quan said nothing, but his hand never left his weapon the entire walk back to the ship.